This is your perfect customer. He spends on the card every single month. He's a regular user. He was earning a very modest income of £15,000. The bank knows that they lent him £35,000. If that's not an alarm bell, then what is? There is an inconsistency in these statements in that there are credit limit increases at the same time as we're seeing a history of arrears and minimum repayments. It's completely inconsistent. This is just a very, very good example of why the banks cannot be trusted to self-regulate. Why do they do it? Because they know they can get away with it.
I'm angry at Richard and I'm angry at the banks. Richard had a responsibility. He took out the credit cards and the loans. But surely the bank must take responsibility as well for allowing him to go on and on, getting deeper and deeper into debt.
Several months after Richard's death, RBS agreed to write off his outstanding debt of £35,000.
It's a very, very different life now. One day you're happy, the next day it's nothing. You're just on your own.
RBS told Panorama they were not aware that Mr. Cullen had a serious debt problem and hadn't made any errors in handling him or his accounts. We took our evidence to the man responsible for policing the banking code of practice. Hello. Hi. Mr. Fortescue, let me show you these. 5th of November 2004, Richard Cullen is being chased for arrears on his Mint card, which is operated by the Royal Bank of Scotland. 2 weeks later, his credit limit has been increased on his Tesco Personal Finance card to £7,700. Tesco Personal Finance card, also run by the Royal Bank of Scotland. The letters have been sent from the same address, the same PO box even. Isn't that a clear violation of the banking code?
Well, I find it extraordinary that this has happened. I think it's a case of the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing. There's no excuse for that. But it was clearly very strange indeed for them to be increasing his card limit on the one side and at the other side trying to ask for their money back.
This is within one bank. This is inexcusable, surely.
I agree. I think this is wrong. I will investigate to see whether there's been a breach of the banking code. We will need Mrs. Cullen's authority to do that, but I will gladly do that.
In Norfolk, Mark MacDonald's widow remains angry with RBS. Despite the circumstances of his death, the bank chose to pursue his estate for the money he owed them.
After my husband's death, I received letters from them basically saying he owed them money and implying that I should pay it. They wanted their money.
Every major bank will have what they call a special recovery unit or a debt collection department. And the job of that department is to recover repayments from those people who have fallen into arrears. At the end of the day, if they don't recover that debt, the bank will have to write it off. So they have extremely aggressive targets, and this is why such aggressive tactics are employed to ensure the bank recovers its money at almost any cost.
Mark MacDonald's insurance policies had enabled RBS to recover over £90,000, but it still wanted full payment of its remaining £27,000, when other creditors were prepared to settle for a percentage of the money he owed.
There have been many other similar cases where the banks, including the Royal Bank of Scotland, have chosen to write off the debt. In the case of Mark MacDonald, the Royal Bank of Scotland chose to pursue his estate. This is an obvious case of irresponsible lending, so I'm very surprised. I'm shocked.
It was a slow process. A year after Mark's death, the bank still wouldn't agree to a compromise settlement.
It's still a millstone around my neck, basically. If I have to pay it, I have to pay it, but I just want it to be gone. And it's not. I'm constantly having to be brought back to the situation.
Six months ago, the Jenkins started to sort out their financial problems and to clear the £29,000 owing on their credit cards. They turned to National Debtline, a charity that helps people in crisis. They now have a repayment plan. Any interest is frozen, but they still have to pay their creditors £180 a month out of their modest take-home pay.
Don't run away, it's nearly time.
Looking back, Robert accepts that he was financially naive, but he also feels his bank was equally responsible for lending him more than he could afford.
I spent the money, that was my responsibility, but I seemed to be doing it with their agreement, so that's how it went. There's something immoral about the way that the banks are doing their business these days. They're making it far too easy for people to get into debt, and that's irresponsible. You should be able to trust your bank. You should be able to believe that you're a valued customer and not a means of deriving a higher profit margin.